have 3 kids. I got 3 boys. They all came to church here, and Daniel that's the oldest. He's in the Navy, which I'm kind of jealous of in a way, because I always thought it'd be cool to be in the Navy. But anyway, he's in the Navy. He's in Mississippi, and he's serving there. He just got married here not too long ago, and he's doing really well. And David and Drew live here in town. Drew works. They'll be mad if I give too much personal information about that. 'Cause
that's probably a fair assessment.
They're like their dad. They don't bring me up. Don't even mention me. So anyway, they live and work here in town, and they're doing really well, and I'm very proud of them. They have a great work ethic, and they just do really good. So. All of them do. So very proud of my children.
I still remember when we were getting inspected in the church office for approval. You did all the electrical here. And the gentleman that was doing the inspection walked in, and he looked at where everything was tied into the panel, and he took one look and goes, Dale did this. I can tell. Just signed off and walked out. It was a quick inspection.
Yeah,
so.
I am slightly OCD.
Yeah.
Put it mildly, and I think sometimes they make the best electricians because it's a very tedious. Some of the work is very tedious.
Yeah.
But always had a super good relationship with my inspectors, and you're right. They all could tell when they got into a box that I did, because it's just it's like your signature or your fingerprint.
Right.
Nobody does that. In fact, I just saw something the other day on the internet that some guy was having problems, and he showed this panel that he'd wired himself. And it was a nightmare. And I go, no wonder, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but it does also show the commitment to excellence that you've had, whether it be in ministry, in your personal life. And so I know I appreciate that, because I didn't know you at that level then. And it was kind of neat to see. And it's like, I have a whole different appreciation for the kind of effort that you put into that, and very clearly second nature at a certain point, because you dedicated yourself so much to developing that and just the attention to detail. So we as a church have been blessed by it, because inspections go a lot smoother when you have attention to detail on those kinds of things. And you've saved us a time or two from the do-it-yourself electrical projects that were done at the church. So we greatly appreciate that. Now share with us some of just maybe if there's a personal hobby, an interest, something that maybe the general congregation wouldn't know about you, that you enjoy doing.
Well, let's see. I really kind of I'm one of those guys that whatever my friend's hobby is at the time becomes one of my hobbies. But my wife says that's not really very financially the greatest way to do it. So I have found some, I growing up here, I always loved the outdoors. My dad in construction, a lot of times in the summer would stay out in the building logging roads or things like that. And he would be running the crews, of course. And so every day I would spend out in the woods, and I would just have a BB gun and a fishing pole. And when he got to where he was going for the moment, I'd bail out of the back of the truck, and I'd usually catch up with him somewhere on the job site, or he'd look for me about lunchtime, because he always carried a cooler full of goodies. We'd have lunch, and then he'd be gone, and then he'd find me, and we'd go home. And then sometimes we'd fish on the way home. So every day I spent roaming around in the woods, but kind of by myself. But so I learned to really love the outdoors and the things associated with that. And we'd go hunting once in a while. And so I was really thankful for that relationship that I had with my dad, since he had been gone quite a bit, later on when when he left. So that was really good. So, I like the hunting and I like fishing. And as I'm getting older, the hunting part, I don't hunt for the same reasons anymore that I did when I was younger. I kind of like to just look at the animals. In fact, when I do shoot one for the meat or whatever, I always feel bad,
right.
And I think that happens when you get older. So I probably won't quit hunting, but I go at it from a whole different perspective now. Recently, I guess, so, we grew up with the boys. They all wanted to go out camping. In fact, one of my boys, they're headed out this week to spend a whole week with some other relatives that come from Oregon, and we always go out together. Since I broke my ankle, my wife and I can't go this year. So we're out of it, but we always go with them. And so we still camp. My wife and I, the boys grew up camping and fishing and boating, and they all love that. So that's kind of just one of those kind of households. And the boys did sports a little bit, but they wanted to spend their summers doing what they really liked doing. And I always told them that if they were going to be in sports, I would support them in that. And if they didn't, there was no pressure for me to do that, and they made their own decisions up with that. So I was pretty fine. I was fine with that. So I think one of the things I found recently that I've kind of enjoyed doing, that's metal detecting, believe it or not. I started watching some guy on the internet that was over in Europe, and he'd go out and dig around, and they'd find all sorts of interesting stuff from the wars and things like that. And I go, well, that looks like fun. So the next thing I know, I got a metal detector, and then the next thing I know, I got a couple metal detectors that the wife didn't know about, but she's going to know about it now. So.
Well, until you've recorded, now it's done.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to watch this, but she will. So, because I don't want to watch myself do anything like this. But, I find it really fun. It's in fact, my oldest, when he got married here not too long ago, they were going to get married in Dominican Republic, and they wanted us to go down and be there and do the wedding. And so we made all the reservations and stuff, and then they changed their minds, but we still had to go because we'd already spent the money, and they wouldn't give it back. So even took my metal detector down there, and the wife even came down at night when we were on the beach,
cool.
And we had a great time. So it's just something to me that's really interesting. It kind of goes along with that. It's kind of like when you're fishing in a creek you've never been in before, and you just want to go up the creek a little further or down the creek a little further. I know, creek. For those of you who are more particular.
You're from Idaho, it's crick,
it's
right
crick,
here.
That's right. You just want to go around that next corner because you know that next big hole is going to be there. Right. It's going to have that big trout in it or bass or whatever you're fishing for. And so metal detecting is kind of like that. You just never know what you're going to come across. And so I found some interesting stuff. None of it really probably that a lot of people would be enthused about. But to me, if I find a crusty old penny, I'm just happy as a clam.
Yeah.
And so I found a ring in my own yard. It was silver and had a emerald agate in it, and so it was like, it's pretty cool. So I enjoy that. I really do. That's kind of what my newest hobby is. So I've been doing that a couple years now. And if you gave me a choice about something, if I had 2 hours and I could go do anything I wanted to do, that's probably at this point in my life I would go do that. And again, it's you can go with somebody,
right? But
it's still kind of a loner sport, which that I fall back into that. You can be by yourself, you can be with other people and have fun, but you're still, when you're out there finding stuff, you're kind of, and it gives your mind a chance to think about things, and I could probably kind of enjoy that. And I like to read, I don't read as much as I used to. I think when we got the internet and we got computers and we got handheld phones, I think kind of the joy of reading kind of overtook that, because now we don't have the books. People don't keep the books they used to. And I still, if I'm going to really study, I dig out my Ironsides and I dig out my Spurgeon and all that stuff.
Right.
I dig them out of the book because there's just something about it. I don't know if it's the smell or the look or the way your eyes follow the reading and understand it, where, you can do that on the internet and it's fine, but I still enjoy the book part of it. But I'll probably, as long as it lets me have the ability, I'll always enjoy the studying part. And it doesn't matter always what it is. I find everything interesting. It's which is really bad for my YouTube habit.
Yeah.
Because I just find too much interesting.
Oh,
that's kind of fascinating. How did they put that together? So that when I watch stuff, it's usually about somebody creating something or building something or fixing something, which is where my mind, in my career has always gone. So
your suggested video feed has got to be pretty impressive on YouTube then, from metal detecting to all kinds of things.
Yeah,
so,
it's pretty interesting. But it's kind of fun because I'm a visual person. And so you can see how to do something sometimes. Right. So it just like anything that we have in life, you got to put it in its proper place. But
So let me ask you this. If there was, I'm thinking for our congregation, for maybe someone who may be watching, we obviously appreciate you sharing your faith journey, more about your life, but if you were to leave one bit of, whether it's, you call it advice or spiritual counsel, or, you could word it passion. I know that's not your favorite word there, but you have a heart for ministry. It's very
Yes.
clear. And while you may not be emotional, like going up and down with the emotions of it, you clearly have a heart for God's people, for the church. And so if you were to instill something in our congregation, or maybe someone who just stumbles across this video, that you could give something to them, a faith challenge, encouragement, whatever, what would that be?
Oh, that's interesting because it's something that's been on my mind for a long time. And how do you, because I'm a fixer,
Right.
how do you fix that? But at the same time, it's something that we're still going through and even asking questions about even today. And it comes back to my original looking at the congregation of the church. You gave an interesting statistic about in today's church how many people actually follow Christ.
Right.
And I think it was in the low 30% somewhere,
Yeah.
if I remember right.
Yeah.
Usually my mind to say, well, it was 32.968% if I remember that, but we'll just say low 30%. And you say, well, why is that? The part of me that when I look at the congregation of Emmanuel Baptist Church as a unit made up of all these people, and you look at these percentages kind of things, you go, well, that's really interesting, but how does that affect the church itself?
Right.
Now, granted, we would all love for that to be 100%.
Sure.
As leadership and as somebody that worries and prays for the congregation, not as necessarily even as individuals,
Right.
It's a sad statistic. But when you look back, even in the 70s in youth group, when we had 40-some kids in youth group,
Right.
and then everybody got out of youth group, and there wasn't anything left for us. Of course, I went to college then, which was in Oregon, but the other part of it was there wasn't anything after that. But you look at how many of my friends because our whole world was our youth group,
Right.
good, bad, or indifferent. And you say, well, how many people go to church now, or even interested in godly things? And the percentage out of the 40 would be very, very low. It's not even going to probably be a third
Right.
that I know of. Now, I could be mistaken, but I haven't seen, some moved away and you don't know what happened. But you say, why does that happen? When people come to church and say they're there because they love God, and yet they don't want to do the things to follow God.
Right.
Now, there has to be a disconnect somewhere.
Yes.
And I think that has been the interesting thing, but God has been kind of opening my eyes lately. And the secret, I think, if I would have advice to somebody, is the fact that, something, it's not my job to necessarily put them in that place. We as leadership can provide opportunities for them if they want to progress in their Christian life.
Right.
We can't do it for them. And I think that is the deal. And today we were talking about mercy, which is coming up in the next sermon.
Right.
Some of that has to do with mercy. I think that's where it's coming. So this is my newest thing that's going on in my brain. But just love the people where they're at.
Right.
Now, we're not talking about sin in people's life,
Right.
because that is a whole other subject nobody ever wants to talk about. But we're just talking about the opportunity for them to grow spiritually, to find what God has for them, because we're all there.
Right.
I'm not saying that I wasn't in the same exact place for I don't know how many, several years there, in that kind of like, where am I at place.
Right.
I didn't reject God. I went to church. I just didn't really do much.
Right.
Yep. And that's understandable. So my patience for that is getting better and better, to understand that not everybody is going to be at some big certain place. That there's people that are saved, that read the Bible, never seem to ever progress past that. Mm-hmm. They're going to be in heaven.
Right.
If they're, and so it's not up to me to go around and place those people in this picture, and so I think that is it: is have patience with people.
Yeah, that's good.
Have mercy with people. Love them. But there's, and just pray that they allow God to become, as in my life. None of it happened overnight.
Right.
And I've always said that Christian maturity isn't about how long you've been a Christian. Christian maturity is that when you go through something like a broken leg or death in the family, whatever it is, it's where do you come out at the other end of that?
That's good.
How did you get through that?
Right.
What is your view of God after you've come out of that? What is your view of ministry and these other things after you come out of that? And I think that is what maturity is.
Right.
And so, I have to just, people kind of say I'm intimidating sometimes. I've never thought of myself as that. I think they just have to realize that, something, I'm not intimidating, because I'm not really worried as much about you as I am trying to worry about myself.
Right.
And I think that would be my advice.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. No, I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing not only your heart, passion for the Lord, but I think that's great wisdom for patience and mercy. And
because mercy was not the highest thing on my skills test.
It's not on a lot of us.
To be totally honest with you, it was. And I took this kind of self-test on autism a little bit, and I think I scored 10 out of 11. And even empathy is even lower than my mercy sympathy list.
Right.
So it's something that God's working on. I was reading an article where I can't use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
But it is a battle, and so it goes against all these other things. And so we go through spiritual battles every day.
Yeah.
And some of them we win, and some of them we don't. But
It's good for our people, though, to see that you can look back and see how you've grown in these areas, that you didn't have it all figured out, that you had seasons of dryness, seasons of, man, I love God, but I don't really care a whole lot. I'm just getting through life right now. And I think that's an encouragement for people that maybe feel like they're in the exact same place a little bit, where, man, I'm going to church, but that's about all I can really do right now. I'm just barely getting through. And so from your perspective, looking back, being able to not only see yourself with patience, but see others, I think is a tremendous gift to people.
Yeah.
I have just one last thing. These are rapid fire. These are quick, fun, silly, kind of.
One word?
If you can do it, we'll see.
Purple.
You win.
All right.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay.
Coffee's got to have foo-foo in it.
Oh.
My wife got me started on those because I didn't like coffee at all. Tea, I love tea. In fact, I still drink a lot of iced tea. I like cold drinks better than I like hot drinks, if you ever invite us over for something. But yeah.
So we're 3 for 3 between myself, you, and Bruce. We're all tea, not coffee.
Isn't that interesting?
And so, yeah, that's funny. All right, favorite vacation spot?
Well, that's tough, because a part of me likes sometimes to see something new. But another part of me, probably the bigger part, likes to go somewhere where I know exactly what I'm going to end up with. So I would say I got two kind of right now favorite spots. One is it got kicked out last year, but we used to go to Newsom Creek a lot, and I like that. But my nephew, they have a place that they've allowed us to come up and stay in the summer. Up on the North Fork of the Corleen River, and as an older person, it's just got more amenities. I'm not out, worrying about how everybody's going to have water to shower in and all that kind of. It's not boondocking.
Right.
So I'm getting older. My tastes are changing. So I think probably vacation spot would be. I like to go there. We take the camper up and we leave it up there all summer, and we go back and forth, and it's a relaxing time for me.
Yeah.
And so I get to build a relationship with my family.
Yeah.
And I think that's been maybe the more important part of that, because for so many years family was not important to me. And now I realize how it is, even if it's my nephew and his wife and family, or it's my cousin that comes up. And so, yeah, I think that to me is the bigger part of it. Than where it is.
Less the spot and more of who you're with when you're there. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right, historical figure. You can't cheat and pick Jesus. So Jesus is off the table.
No.
It's got to be a historical figure that you would love to meet.
I'd love to meet. Well, let's see. I would say probably that it would either be maybe Lincoln, just because there's so much we don't know about him that is, it'd been interesting to really know, maybe just because of his whole life, and maybe Reagan.
Oh.
I find him a very interesting person. If you follow his whole career, it seems like there's two sides, but yet when he did become president, how it was different. So I think it'd be interesting to meet him. There's so many people I'd like to meet.
Yeah.
I can't tell you really that they would jump out first, but since you asked.
Yeah. A guy who loves history, I figure there's probably a long list of people
there's a huge
that would
list.
be that would be on that. Okay, favorite book or movie? And again, no cheating, no churchy answer of it's the Bible.
Oh, no.
You got to move to something different.
Well, as we were talking today, I kind of like adventurous movies. So I told you one of my favorite, again, with my life being like not necessarily emotional, I have a lot of things that stay on that kind of same high and low level. So when you say favorite, I got a lot of movies I like to watch.
Right.
I don't have any that I want to watch 50 million times because I get bored with them. But I do like Open Range. Was one of my ones, just because I like the bad guys getting it in the end. I think that's but yeah, Open Range probably. Although it's not my total favorite movie. But
now, last one, if you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
I think probably what it would be, this is an interesting question because I think we all have that. But I think it would be to master languages.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
In high school, they had 2 or 3 languages you could take. And so I thought, wow, what's a really good one that I could meet girls with? Well, I picked German.
Oh.
Not knowing that they all wanted the romantic languages. German is not one of the romantic languages, I'll guarantee you that. But now, having been to Sicily and places, I would love to learn languages so I could learn more about the people and the history. That's why I would want to. I'd love to find somebody that would come from there and just be able to go up and talk to them.
Yeah.
I think so. Languages, I think, would be, and just think if we could master languages, how much other history we could learn.
Yeah.
Even we learn in Bible college. The Greek and Latin. Why? So we can go back and look at Scripture and say this is where this came from. So yeah, languages. I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer there. I do find it interesting that even in your answer, though, what's driving you is building relationships with people and understanding people, and I think that's fantastic. I appreciate you taking the time today to share with us. I'm hoping that the folks that have taken the time to tune in, I know they'll be encouraged and challenged, and definitely get a glimpse of who you are, and maybe even people that knew you years ago get to see a new kind of version. It's the same Dale, but just with more experience in life and just maybe some new outlooks on
You got to
some
remember,
things.
there's nothing longer than church memory.
Yeah.
And so there's people that still come up when I was little and younger, remember how, what we used to do during the service and get in trouble for it. They say, "You're an elder? How'd that happen?" I remember this. And it's like, so hopefully they do see it a different me. There should be a different me. If it was the same me, there'd have been something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank all of you guys for joining us and appreciate you. Hope that this was a encouraging time and challenging time. God bless you. Thank you, Dale.
Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.